In the meantime, our guests have been sitting patiently, and it's worth the wait, folks, because they ooze wisdom as they have served in public service for many, many years. Dalmas Otieno was a minister in both President Moi's and President Kibaki's governments, and he was former MP for Rongo, and Joseph Kagudi, former PC. Those days when we had provincial commissioners, Nyanza, Western, Nairobi. They're here to talk about where do we go from here. Gentlemen, thanks again for your time. Let's go straight to Mandamano Monday, Bona PC. Would this have happened in your time? What we saw on TV, what we saw unfolding, would it have happened?
Yes. Politics is unpredictable. Depends on the mobilization by the politicians.
What were your thoughts on it? What did you think of Monday's Mandamano?
Personally, I would not have done it the way it went. You remember in 1997,
yep,
after Sabasaba, I came from Nyanza and reduced. We decided as a security team, let's reduce the tear gas. You just remove the tear gas, remove the police in the streets, allow them to walk. You know, they walked. That time the politicians started at the All Africa Conference of Churches. Then the officers were keen to fresh them out, say no. Then they came to railway station. They just marched on Moi Avenue, Kenyatta Avenue. They came here near to the 10-year anniversary monument. Mm-hmm. You remember that's where they killed a special branch officer. You just allow them, depending on the circumstances of the day. But that time, I did not want the repeat of Sabasaba when I was in Kisumu that time to come when they were beating Koinange. You remember?
Yes.
So I thought the government was losing very, very heavily, both nationally and internationally. So just with the due. But Jeff, I think I told you last time, every administrative action, judge it during its time. If you judge it outside its time, you run a lot of risk of making mistakes. Like I do not know the appreciation the security teams had in Nairobi, the political interpretation, because it's a political government we are running. And it got to be judged according to its time and the circumstances of that time. So good or bad, I would make a mistake. Unless I judge it according to the way it was that time,
right,
the way we saw it.
Yeah. Waziri, as a former minister, your thoughts of the Mandamano?
As a mass movement mobilized masses of Kenyans, what was the objective? Kenya priorities should remain development, development, development. So anybody mobilizing masses just for the sake of masses to be mobilized and to be seen, that is just credit for the leaders. But it should be credit for the Republic. Credit for the Republic is what would address more and more development for the country. Less and less consumption, less and less politics. But if you go an approach where it is politics, 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 what are you doing? You are not addressing the development needs of the Republic. Now, to address development needs for the Republic, I would have been much happier if we had those numbers being mobilized for a development activity. Are we going to produce more maize? Can you imagine we are importing maize? Kenya, a republic that has grown maize for so many years. We are soon going to import vegetables and tomatoes and onions and what have you. It's ridiculous. So leadership attention should be addressed towards the development of the Republic, beginning with the right technology, followed by the necessary capital for the country to undertake activities that would add to the development agenda of the Republic.
Yeah.
So my only problem with what the mass action addressed is that none of it is developed. Later on, they picked a few issues like cost of living. Has the demonstration taken it? The demonstration is telling somebody to do it. Why not you? Yeah. You see, they talked about other issues that would be necessary in the Republic. So you are using mass action to communicate to somebody else to do. But what about you? When you are in a leadership that has such a large following, you should be the one doing those things. To reduce the cost of living now, we require activity down back to our agriculture. Would mean that we address reduced importation. Now, to reduce importation, we must produce enough to export. Now, if that kind of mass action was going to address what we can produce and export, I would have been very happy about it. But if it is just conveying a protest, you are advancing confrontational politics that is undermining development.
Yeah, and now it's going to be increased to twice a week, Mondays and Thursdays.
That is the most ridiculous proposal, I would say. Most ridiculous. If it had to be done again, maybe once a month. But to me, conveying development needs of the country by public mass action is not fruitful enough. We should address what is beneficial to the people. In fact, you are training people, even you are training the youths, that if you need something, just make noise about it.
Yeah.
But we should be training the youth, if you need something, learn how to do it.
By the way, the tone of the leaders. What do you think of the tone and the language of the leaders?
I'm uncomfortable. I therefore would back what the clergy is saying. Let's try to come to the middle. Even worse, once the wars are fought, they end up with a table negotiation. Last time I was on your bench, you asked me the most tricky problem that I have faced. You remember?
Yes.
I told you one word, transitions. Whether you are talking about the transition of a cattle deep leadership, a primary school, or a national leadership. Like now, if you look at the way they are doing, it would appear they are still part of, they're messed up within the transition. The sooner they get them together to talk, ask, what is bothering you? And what is bothering you? What circumstances are you facing? What circumstances are you facing? And we bring the elders to come closer so that we can reduce what Mheshimiwa Waziri is saying, the efforts of the country towards a more productive kind of agenda. But is it true that the government is explaining what they are doing so that those ones can slow down in demanding it? Is it true that those who are making demands themselves, have they considered what is the product that will come out of all this? So both sides, remember, what we require now are elders, the conscience of society. The elders and the clergy are the conscience of society. And the more they talk, come to a table and close it. Go to the back room. Don't even announce over there. Get to the back room and start those negotiations so that the young blood, because what I am fearing, and is what is also fearing, the youth time, the youth energy, the youth fun. Then you get the police also getting also excited and start overusing the tear gas and see what would happen if some injuries of the police officers will come and what you see them holding are no stakes. You threaten them beyond a certain level. My fear has been that they extend it. I was fearing when they were in Isili, saying if the sun sets and you injure a police officer or they feel threatened, they are taught to defend themselves using the gun. They cannot just sit and end up suffering. Right. So we need a lot of consultation so that we cool down. Unfortunately, in this country, Jeff, we don't have a nationhood building policy. Not in the Constitution, not in the law, not in practice. So what he is saying, that you are injuring the economy. Then you get, I was getting a call from Europe somewhere, and they're telling me you are in bad shape here. And this is what happens, because the cameras show burning and they show extreme. Yeah. What happens? Why should I go to invest in a place where it's all burning? We portray as if we are eating the intestines of the country using our own efforts. Yeah. So the more we slow down, the more we create an environment for talking. I would like the clergy, instead of addressing our leaders on the camera, book an appointment with this side, book an appointment with this side. They call it the shuttle diplomacy. Shuttle diplomacy. Do it quickly, because the chest thumping, the one I'm seeing, where is the end? Can we afford to go lower and lower in terms of the total image of the country? I would rather have a reconciliatory kind of approach, somewhere coming to the middle.
Catholic bishops today, Waziri, they volunteered to mediate between the president and the former prime minister. Should the two gentlemen, should they listen to the Catholic bishops? Should they?
I think they should, because the Catholic bishops are well-meaning. These are people who are looking at the country as a whole. What is the image of Kenya you wish to convey to the rest of the world? Because as a developing country, we'll first need investments from all over the world, technology from all over the world. What image are we giving to the rest of the world in terms of participation in our socio-political development of our country? Yeah. Now, it is so important that anybody organizing any such major activity should be asking themselves, what is the objective? That is like a style of making noise to the colonialists. But we don't have any. Now we have a Kenyan government manned by Kenyans facing the development challenges of Kenyans. So you are part of that, right? Yeah. So we should be asking any activity to assess the contribution it will make to the image of Kenya and to the development of Kenya. Now, it is not like the independent movement days where noise was enough. You have been heard all over the world. The message is clear to everybody else. Those are old tactics whose time should pass and pass forever. Now, if there is an issue, it should be raised and leaders should sit and discuss that issue, arrive at a solution which will have to be implemented by the government. Yeah. So any demonstrations in future should have very clear objectives. And if there is a high cost of living, you know the solutions where it would have to come from. Kenya has to be taken back to production of what Kenya should be able to produce and have a history of capacity to do so. How do we do that? So that's why I was saying we should think of mobilizing our people to do the very things that would enhance our standards. Yeah. Right now, our development, I think, budget is hardly 19-20% of our GDP. Yet the development needs require something as high as 40% of GDP in revenue to be directed towards development. That would require the involvement of each and every Kenyan, directed by the leaders to achieve those high standards of production. So leadership time should not be wasted in just noise making. Leadership time should be directed towards addressing specific development issues. Because that is the position we had in Africa. That is the image we have had in Africa. You are now destroying the Kenyan image. You see? Yeah. That should not be allowed. And the religious leaders were very right that please, when there are serious issues, as some of which you had already pointed out, sit with the government. We do campaign once a year, when it is once every 5 years, maybe for a whole year campaign period. That time we allow you to think politics, politics, politics. Talk, 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 talk. Maybe even consumption, you give people whatever they can consume. For 4 years, we should be very seriously thinking of development, development, development. The best brains, the best thinking, the most active, all should be directed towards solving our long-term problems.
And yet, Bonapisi, we are always constantly in election mode in this country. We never stop electioneering.
Imagine.
And 7 months after the elections, we haven't moved on.
Yeah.
What is wrong with us?
Jeff, you're asking a personal view, not this time from my history of government. He has talked about the image of the country. This is a country where, I repeat, nationhood is not there. I have compared the constitutions of Tanzania, Rwanda, Uganda, Southern Sudan, Somalia here. You know, in this country, there is the only semblance of nationhood is in the Kenya national anthem, that Kitengele, you know, where we say, Kenya istahili heshima. Kenya istahili. Lakini, it is not me, it's we. Tuungane is we. In those constitutions, there is a chapter in the constitution called duties and responsibilities of citizens. This will not be happening in those countries. No, the constitution will not allow, because it will destroy the image, he has used the word image, of the country in front of the other nations.
The rest of the world.
That's why I was a BBI fan. And in particular, Article 4. You know, there are people who just said BBI niba without reading. Unfortunately, including some top friends of mine, professionals. Unamuuliza, ni nini hutaki? Sijasoma. Uliambiwa tu, sijasoma. Article 4 was coming to introduce duties and responsibilities of citizens so that this kind of confrontation would not have been allowed by the law. But we have one law, isn't it?
Yeah.
We have one country. We have one government. We have one head of state, isn't it? All those are there.
Yeah.
But in terms of cohesion, because you don't have the duties and responsibilities, anybody can blow a whistle and we start reacting in any direction. Ati ni haki yetu, ni haki yetu, without limitations. You are getting what I'm saying?
Yes,
about nationhood. I feel very sad when even we sing the national anthem, and I find that we are impatient with the 3 verses.
Yeah, sometimes you only sing one.
59 seconds. We cannot afford, to create that last one.
Yeah.
Kenya istahili heshima. To the extent that in certain countries, even the media, you find that hiyo taharibu image ya nchi yetu. And you get them curtailing it, self kind of control, not releasing everything. Yeah. So that when he's talking about the time, the effort, and the resources we are applying, is this the best way? Who should have, how can we do it? We ask our politicians, get back to the drawing board, create that nationhood, create controls in order for us, we do not destroy our country when we are seeing. Because there is lacuna in what's happening. Yeah. If you look at the constitution now, I listen to the demonstrators. They are saying it is provided for. We can pick it. We can do this. We can pick. How do we have freedom without controls? They are right. Then on the other side of the government, I am urging, can our government, the questions they are raising, answer them? Who doesn't see we are going through a transition from a terrible situation, world calamity called COVID, which changed even our character. Yeah. That I, Joseph Kaguthi, would remain in the same house ile tulikuwa tunasema hado haja wanawake wanakaa na they don't get bored, that I can stay in that house and go to these things, and I don't get bored. Traditionally, I ought to come and look for Jeff, look for Waziri here, we because that's the way it was. But COVID came, then the drought, 5 years. I'm not so satisfied that the rain we are talking about, I can see the longevity. But the minute I go to Uncle Google and look at the weeds in the Indian Ocean, I'm not seeing a long range or enough of that rain. If we exceed this, we have started missing getting dry rivers. We can afford to import food for our people, but can we afford to import water? And desalination, there's quite a bit of work to be done. So let the two sides. If I was there, I would ask government every evening, issue a statement. This is what the hope, we are giving you hope. This is coming. Let that come so that even those who are getting very angry, they can see our government. You know, we have changed our structure of government from 2013. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we changed it. It is started being called Ruto government. Right. This one is being called Ruto government. It starts from being our government to Ruto government or somebody else. And you know, media inatukibiza wakati mwingine. Lakini nikikaa pale naangalia ni nini hii sasa.
And then Deputy Government, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua says, Kenya is a government. The government is a company. And only those who voted for us are the real shareholders, and they will get rewarded. That's what he said.
No, those are jokes we don't take seriously, please. Kenya is in competition with the rest of the world. And Kenya is Kenya, one political economy called the Republic of Kenya. Parties are for purposes of picking the leader. Once the leader is picked, he has to work with all Kenyans to develop the country. So what Gachagua was saying is just, he was joking. I took it that way myself. He was joking that those who are with us, those who are not with us, please, we are still going to be around. So look at us favorably. Join us. We are going to be. That was his way of appealing for unity in the country, which he knows you don't do in such a simplistic manner.
Okay, the other thing is, I don't know if you heard this evening, we just got some breaking news that Parliament says they are not able to vet the 50 CASs, and they referred them back to the appointing authority, the President. The President just told the CASs, report to your various ministries. Executive
order, yes. It's the government.
How? You see, that used to happen during Moi's time.
No. When you are taking an issue to Parliament, there has to be a provision under which you are taking the issue to Parliament. Is there some statute or regulation under which it is supposed to be taken to Parliament? This CSS is nowhere. It's not in the Constitution. It has been created. People have been nominated for the purpose. Initially, there were 23. Now there are 50. I don't know if they may reach 100. You know, so the issue is right that Parliament had no basis of handling that issue. Then, when the executive then decides to continue with the appointment, either increase or decrease, possibly leave them at 50, the executive has to account to the Republic the productivity of these CASs. What are they going to do more effectively under performance management in our system that would justify their appointment at the cost? Cost is 5-point-something billion.
Correct.
In 5 years. Yeah. He has to show us that the return their services will give to the Republic is much higher than what we are going to have to pay them. Now, those I'm not saying is not possible. It is possible. The country must always be aware we are in competition with the rest of the world. And we were fairly advanced when you are looking at Africa. You must not start doing things that bring Kenya down, please. The image of the Republic had gone so high. What we need is contribution to improve the growth of this Republic. And there are challenges. 3/4 of the country is going to be too dry to produce anything. We have to place a lot more productive activity in the remaining areas where we have water and where we have crops and other products to generate from those areas. So a simplistic way of handling things in Kenya is a big disadvantage to a country like Kenya that enjoyed global recognition when you are looking at Africa.
Absolutely. And can we afford it is the other question. I want to take a quick break, gentlemen, and come back. Can we afford it? I mean, we're going through you talked about COVID, there's drought, there's the dollar is going through the roof, this shilling is free falling.
Global recession.
Can we afford it? Hold the thought. Joseph Kaguthi, Dalmas Otieno on the bench today, oozing with wisdom. This kind of conversation we should be having, folks. I hope those of our leaders who are leading this nation